Alright guys, so this is all the stuff that you need to make this version of my Stimpak here. Ooh, I didn't put stream in here. Oh, I'll do that when I'm disassembling and assembling. So, right here is my nearly completed Stimpak. By the time this video is posted, it will be completely done. And I still have to put on the gauge on the top and the wires to the side there. So, this is the basic stuff that I used. I did play around with the idea first, but this is basically what I used. So, I'm using these. They were a mini ring toss kit thing that I got at the dollar store. And it came with 4 of these little base plates. That's what I used on the top, and they're just hot glued together in a way that they won't come back apart. And I used various pieces of the mechanical pencil, which I'll get into the specifics of. And this is a multi-choice pen. I got 2 of these for $1 at the dollar store. I'm sure it's a very bad pen, but it works very well for my purposes. And a single toilet paper tube, which will be used for the cross joints there and the little square deals. And if you don't have the ability to find these little base plate things, anything round will do. That's to your preference for depth, or you could use part of the toilet paper tube, which I may try just to show you guys how I would do it. And I'll clear my workspace, and I will get back to it and show you the disassembly and the beginning of the assembly.
Alright guys, sorry it took so long to post this. I waited a bit longer than I thought I would need to, so I got my stitches out and all that good stuff. And today we're going to be working on the bottom portion of the Stimpak. So you're going to start with your multi-choice pen, a mechanical pencil, and a sport needle. The first one that I built, my prototype, I couldn't find my sports needle, so I used a tack nail, which is kind of pokey. So as you see, this does come apart and go back together, with the Stimpak's needle being part of the mechanical pencil tip, which slides into the lower tube, which then screws onto the upper portion. It may be hard to understand. I am also sick right at the moment, so I do apologize if I'm a little hard to comprehend. So when you unscrew the multi-part tip, you will have all the ink cartridges included, and I already took those out of this particular pen. There is a little pin in the center that holds the top part on. And I forgot my tools downstairs when I started recording. And I couldn't figure out how to get it apart with just my hands. Alrighty, so there's the needle nose pliers, and then you just squeeze the end of the pin and carefully push down. You don't want to break anything. And it pops out with a medium amount of difficulty. The first one that I built came apart really easily. This one is a little more persistent. I actually had to tear off some pieces to get down to the what is it? The flare in the pin. I'm still working on my whole video editing thing, so hopefully I'll have music and a proper intro here soon. Kinda hard with stitches and being sick and having a full-time job, but I'm working on it, I promise. Alright, so I already got the pin out, then you're just pulling out all the springs and the little selector pins. You don't really have to do this part, I just did it out of habit. You can keep the springs, and I kept the springs and the pins from the first one. I'm sure I'll find a use for them in one of my next projects, but I I know where to get these, so I'm not really worried about it. So you don't in any way need the cage looking part on top of the threads. You just need the threads and the truck plastic that's attached to them. So I took some wire snips and I just snipped in between each little bar part. It just made it easier to peel open. And then I just snipped them on off there. I am trying to avoid using sharp implements near my fingers, at least for the time being. So that is some sandpaper that I have there. I also got that at the dollar store, a pack of 20 or something of various grits. And this particular one, I don't know where it went. It is a medium grit. It's just, you don't need anything particularly hardcore. Just enough to smooth off the little nibs. That is the culprit for slicing my finger, because it's totally not my fault, even though it was. 4 stitches, jabbed by needles, Week and a half of showering with a bag on my hand. Stuff like that, good stuff. Be very careful with sharp implements. As I was negligent once and I sliced my finger open, so always be careful with your tools. And if you can, I would just try to get away with only using sandpaper, because it's a lot safer, if nothing else. So get it as smooth as you can, and there's also going to be a tiny center tube. Try to get that level with it as well. At least as close as you can. It's not necessary to be perfect. So the needle assembly is going to be the sport needle in the tip, and then part of the main tube of the pencil, which should be measured out according to the size of your pen, not to any specific dimensions that I could possibly give you. It all just depends on where you get the materials from and the brand that they are, and this is a very off-brand. 50 cents a piece, though, I'm not complaining. So as you can see, without any alteration, it doesn't go through the green part at all. And I would try not to cut this or saw this particular part on the tip, because I tried that with the first one and I ended up breaking part of it. So the sandpaper is definitely a safer bet for the structural integrity of the pen tube. And I just took the box cutter and went around the inner edge. very carefully, just swirl it around the inner edge. Just to open it up a little bit more. And just continue the process until you have a decent depth. The depth on mine is about it's less than half an inch. It's a little bit more than a quarter of an inch. But whatever looks good to you. And I am using the tip for my template as the tip for my prototype as a template for the depth. I'm trying to get a consistent kind of product. Just repeat the process carefully. You can always take off more, but you can never put it back. That's when I got it just about right. And then time to disassemble the pencil very, not carefully. It all just tears apart if it's a dollar store mechanical pencil. So you need the tip, the tube, and then the part that used to hold the lead and the eraser. Those are the only parts that are actually used off the pencil itself. You can ditch the rest. Which will like me, I saved the lead for my other pencils. And I tried to just straight up push it through. It didn't work. After I snipped off the tip, of course. And it didn't work, and I heated it up and forced it through. And the first one, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, I totally chewed it up, but poked out the side. So I had to grab a different tip from a different pencil. Using lighters on metal is something that I do a lot. Using lighters at work as well, so I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I'm a little more aware of the heat in the metal. Be very careful because it does get very hot and you can easily burn yourself. And go right through your plastic the wrong direction, as it were. Probably shouldn't have futzed around with the one that I messed up and just started over, but my futz. Luckily I had spares. Snip it to buff again. I also used the tack nail off my original to try to start it a little bit. Didn't work out as well as I was hoping, but it did the trick good enough. A heated paperclip or something like that would also help for a starter hole at least, because these sport needles are kind of thick. But they're also blunt, which is why I chose them for this project, because they can't really hurt anybody. At least any more than any other blunt object can. Alrighty, we'll just heat this sucker up again. Try to poke her on through. And it wasn't enough heat the first time, so I gotta heat her on up again. And yet again. This kind of downtime is a good time to say I'm trying something different with my caps. I finagled a very small silk screen that I'm trying to work with. Never have before, so it's kind of challenging, but that was like a challenge. I'm hoping it kind of works, because it's kind of a pain in the ass to hand paint each one with a toothpick. Sorry, it's kind of monotonous, so I can't really speed it up with the quality of the camera that I used. I won't be using a particular camera again. Okay, there we go. I got it through there. And when you snip off the threads from these sports needles, it will collapse the needle. You just take some pliers and squeeze it back out the other way. It'll be fine for this purpose. I didn't do it in this video because I didn't have it handy, but I will be using a hot glue gun and hot glue to secure the needle in the tip of the pencil. And this little sucker is going to be a main component in the structure of our Stimpak. It goes through the cross brace, and it also goes into the pencil to keep it straight. Length is kind of arbitrary, so long as the second flare is smooth with the smooth part of your threads there. But if you want to skip cutting that for the moment, that'd be fine, and you'll see why we needed any kind of length in the next part when we do the cross brace out of the toilet paper rolls. Getting the size on the pencil tube was challenging the first time because of how brittle the plastic can be. When I was trying to cut it, it broke quite a bit, but the second time was a bit easier because I used a different method to cut it. So the length of your pencil tube, while attached to the tip, needs to be the length of the pen tube minus the length of the threads, and it'll keep it nice and snug in there. I would always be happy to answer any questions anyone would have, because I may not be the most concise individual right now. But whatever method you use to cut this, I would just be very gentle with it. I use some mason line, which does kind of act like a saw that's made out of string, basically. It's pretty effective. Excuse me. You can use it to cut all kinds of stuff, and I just had it handy, and I don't have a saw in the house for some reason. I just haven't gotten one. And I do score it before I use the mason line to cut it, out of a necessity, really. Definitely not out of a choice. And the mason line, and you can see my toes. Tight spaces. Oh, and there's the bug. I forgot about the bug. Get it. Got it. I myrtleized the bug. Bug is dead. And just a simple sawing motion with the string and it works very much like a saw. It's actually quite nifty. Do. Cut. And there it goes. Using mason line will usually give you a pretty straight cut, but it all depends on how straight you were pulling the line. And the plastic is so brittle that it did leave a little shard on there, but I just snipped it off and sanded it down again. And then you really just got to put it all together and see if she fits. And just got to put it together. Well, yeah, I'm sorry if this was a little quiet. I haven't been able to do very much research into the world of not copyrighted music. But hopefully I'll have that sorted out soon. And that's pretty much the entire lower assembly of my Stimpak. And the next one will start on the top. I don't know how long it's going to take to record doing the top, but we'll get it done. Thanks for watching.